Alright, so this is going to be the last Horus Heresy video while I finish up prepping my first batch for painting and while I finish painting up some vampire counts, which you'll be seeing in some other videos, although I do have a couple of other related videos that will come up, and while they're not directly Horus Heresy Age of Darkness, they will have parts of that involved. You'll see in those videos. So, this video is going to focus on the Storm Eagle. I only just recently brought this out of storage. I haven't used it in a long time because I just haven't played my Chaos Space Marines in a long time, which is what this was originally a part of. But with the, return of my Night Lord's army in a new format, and one that this is meant to be played with, I decided that I'd get it out and do some work to clean it up and finish it, because as you can see, it's not really a finished painted project. So the story with this is that I got this for a gift a few years ago, about 8 actually, and I was really excited to use it and to put it together. This was my biggest Forge World kit I had received at the time, but I had bought several already, and this was fairly overall a disappointing and frustrating experience. When I got the bag with all the parts, what you get is basically some sprues for a Storm Raven, and then a bunch of pieces that attach and let you turn it into a Storm Eagle. Most of anything that wasn't just a big thick piece of resin was severely warped and would not really come together very well, even with putting it in hot water, holding it down, the things I would normally do when working with resin. And I took a lot of pictures when I first got it because I was concerned, and then as I built it I was taking more pictures, and then when I got it painted I took even more pictures, and I sent all those to Forge World and I said, listen, I know I've already built this and obviously too late to return it, but this is like the worst kit I've ever made. I went through, I showed them the steps I went through. I had pictures of all the different steps I took, trying to hold it down in place and create flat panels, and it never worked out. There's a lot of spaces where I had to make cuts, a lot of spaces where I had to put the glue so heavy that it did affect the final paint job, and just in general it was an unpleasant building experience. And for that reason I now have one in a bag that 8 years later is still unbuilt, and that's because Forge World, they just sent me a whole new one. They apologized, said sorry, and at the time I kind of just was surprised, but I took it for like normal Games Workshop reaction. Back then, when you would say, hey, I have a problem with a product, you would tell them about it, and you would either expect at least a free sprue to replace something, or often just a whole new kit, because as many people do suspect, the actual kits themselves are not really expensive to produce. It's all the other stuff that goes into it, the art design, the rules, sorry about that, making the sculpts and the molds and all that. That's where the cost is. So replacing an actual product that's been paid for, not what they want to do, but I don't think it really costs them much in the grand scheme of things. Probably the shipping costs more than the kit, even with a resin one like this. And yeah, anyways, I got it and I opened the bag and I just kind of put it down because it was the exact same problems, and I thought, okay, well, they sent me a new one, so I'll slap it together real quick. I know what to do now. It's going to be better. And it wasn't. It was the exact same issues. I did a little bit of work here and there over the years trying to like straighten things out, and some of it's better than it was, but overall, it is just still a mess. And I'm going to build it now. I do want the second one. I have it. I'm going to build it. And I'm going to do a series of videos where I do build this and show the process. And it's going to take a while because I'm going to probably get a wooden board this time. And every single time I work on a piece, it's going to get clamped, it's going to get taped, whatever, to make it stay in a specific position for upwards of a week. I want to make sure nothing is left to chance in terms of fixing this warping. I want it to be completely cured back into what is hopefully the right position, because I don't want to deal with this again. And there's a lot of spaces on here where it's kind of hard to tell, just because I haven't done much past the base coat, and it's actually kind of a bit dusty. I dusted this, but I gotta dust it again. Yeah, it's just there are issues in here, and I will try to get better images once I start painting it, so you can see where the problems really are. But there are places along these seams. They kind of are visible. There's a lot of glue has been used. There's a lot of filler has been used, more than I've ever been used to. And I really thought it was maybe just me after a bit, but over the years I've seen a lot of people talk about the exact same problems, that they rate this, the worst kit they've ever built. And I'm not even the only person with multiple, that they own, of which only one has been built, because the rest, whether it's one or two, are just sitting in the bag. They got a couple at the same time and said, oh, this is going to be awesome, and then said, oh my god, this is the worst thing I've ever done, and just never went back to the second one. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, kind of give a review of the model, in terms of building, in the quality. Forge World, I've always thought was, a little bit overhyped. I've bought many Forge World kits and upgrade pieces and whatnot, and I've always thought, it's too expensive for what it is. It's not as great as people say, but it is still really cool stuff. And this is really cool, this piece here. I even went with getting the Rhino doors to make it my Night Lord's Legion, but I don't think this is comparable to the rest that I've built. Issues I've had on the others exist, but nothing like this. And I've over the years have looked at other people doing this, and everyone's experience again has just been the same. It's sort of a not fun build. So I wanted to make sure everybody who might be looking at these does some research. Don't just take my word for it. Go out and look and see, has the kit improved? Are people still having these issues? And if it hasn't, what are the steps you would need to take to build this properly? Because partially I wasn't prepared, but also, at this point here, when I got this, I'd been building models for 25 years at that point, starting with ones with my dad when I was a kid, and at least 25 years. And it really shouldn't have been that difficult. I had the tools, I had the understanding, I followed directions, and not the terrible directions they give you. It's literally a couple of pieces of photocopied paper that you can barely recognize what they're doing. But online tutorials of how to build this, and still I just did not have a lot of success in a lot of areas. And this was one case where the doors are glued shut, not because I don't want to paint the interior, because this one I was actually going to paint the interior. It's just because that was the only way to make the doors go and fit. It was every single step of this was just a nightmare in terms of building. So if you're going to get one, do some research, make sure you want to get yourself into this, and make sure you have a really good plan. I did not have a good plan. I think I have a good one now for the second one, but we'll see. Anyways, as a model, as a unit, I mean, it is excellent. In Horus Heresy 2.0, it has 22 capacity for carrying, with front and rear and side access. So, this is a lot of ways to get your troops around. I don't have my book in front of me, so I can't check the movement, but I think it's quite a fair distance. Actually, you know what? I do have my book in front of me. Give me one moment here, and I'll check the stats. Okay, so Sorry about the little break there. The the movement is 18, so that's quite good. The armor is only 12 all around, but I'm pretty sure if I follow the rules for 40k, or for Horus Heresy, it's like the old 40k rules where it's harder to hit a flyer, so that should work with 4 hull points. It's cheaper than a Land Raider. Obviously not as durable, but it trades durability for the ability to move a big distance with it really quickly, get your guys around. It's got assault vehicle and it's got deep strike, so that's pretty cool. And it's it's a nice looking piece on the board, but it's also really like it was really useful, and it like really allows you to properly, I feel, deploy troops the way you kind of picture your elite shock troops getting around. And it's also really well armed. I'm not going to look back in the book now, I just put it away, but it has like rockets you can get. I think they're like Hell Strike or something. Usually it's a heavy bolter up here, and those Vengeance launchers, I believe they're called. But anyways, it's got 2 blast marker rocket pods. I went with twin link las cannons and a twin linked multi-melta because I did want this thing to have good anti-armor capabilities. I figured once it drops off its target or while it's moving towards it, it can either hit heavy infantry or it can go after some sort of piece of armor, either by, you know, long range with the las cannons or getting around close and to the sides using its flying ability, and then using the multi-melta to really help with the penetration. I don't know if that's going to be great in Horus Heresy. It was really good back in 6th edition 40k, 7th edition, probably 6th edition is when I bought this, back around 2014. So, yeah, this is just something that I think as a unit has a lot of potential. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I have no real first-hand knowledge of playing Horus Heresy, and this is all based on me just kind of theory crafting, just going through the books, looking at the options. I think this here with either Terminators or a lot of Legionnaires is a really solid choice. And I also just, again, think it is a cool looking model. So, yeah. That's kind of like the main point of this video. I wanted to cover, you know, what it does, but I did mostly want to focus on the issues that might arise if you get one, because I think that a lot of people, whether they're new players or even veterans at times, if you're not familiar with Forge World, you kind of have it in your head that that's the premium stuff. Especially when you look at things like the Primarchs and whatnot, and the way they you know sell those at a very high price point, and they're sent out in like really nice black boxes and all that. So I think knowing that even though it's a high quality product in some ways, it is still not that high of a quality that you should just throw money at them. You should really be aware of the process that it requires to build these. It's actually one thing they should do on that website, is they should have video tutorials of how to build every single one of these right on the Forge World page, including the prep. But I think the reason they'll never do that is they wouldn't want to show you how much work goes into building one of these, and they also wouldn't want to show you simply the building process and overlook the prepping process. They just simply tell you this is for older, more veteran players and modelers, and they don't really go into details really of what that means. And that is a gripe I've always had with Forge World. I think it's a little underhanded at times. My first few things that I got from them were just things like turrets to go with Imperial Guard tanks, Styges, Vanquisher cannons, things like that. But over the years, you know, I've bought other things, and while some stuff is, you know, you could pretty much rely on it being decent, whether it was like the big terrain boards or whatnot, other times you'd look at it, like these vehicles, and you wouldn't expect this to be that much of an issue. So I do think there needs to be more of a warning than just, oh, this is an advanced kit. I mean, that's not a very you know, detailed reason of what, you know, a detailed like explanation of what you're getting into. So do your research. If you're going to get big Forge World kits, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. But they are really fun to build when they work. Not in this case, but even once you get them all together, if you can get them together, you know, like 90% right, like this thing here is probably 90% right, it still looks really cool. And I am going to come back at this, and I'm going to do the extra work, like, you know, hit it with washes, which you can see I didn't do, because I was super annoyed with this thing. I just wanted to be done with it. But I'm going to take the time, I'm going to finish this up, do it right, and fix the mistakes that I made, that I can already see there's things I didn't do right or I could have done better. And yeah, that's where we're going to stop it. I'm just going to keep rambling otherwise. And if you have any thoughts on Forge World, if you've bought one of these kits and you had like no problems, I would love to hear that, because I have seen so many people say that they've had problems with this kit that I really have just come to believe there's a problem with the Storm Eagle, and I don't want to be the person putting this kit down if that's not true. If there are improved kits coming out, or if there really was just early on there was bad batches. I think I got it quite early. But if they're doing it right now, tell everybody, because again, I don't want to be putting out a bad image on this thing if it deserves a better one. So yeah, as always, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks very much, and see you in the next video.